Good morning, it's January 31st. This is To My Liberal Friends. When I'm known to prepare for this small podcast, I do a lot of research to make sure I get the facts right. If there's data out there, I want to be able to quote it correctly. That's just been the way I've operated. Today I want to talk about something without any facts, any data, just my own personal experience. I went to Washington, D.C. to work in January of 1977 to work for a newly elected Republican senator. I remember offices were on the 6th floor of the Senate Dirksen building, and across from us was the Democratic staff, and I was working for Republican, for the Labor and Human Resources Committee. We got to know them. We were friends with them. We'd have lunch with them. We may have differed on our politics, but we were civil toward each other, and that civility seems to have disappeared in Washington, D.C., and it disturbs me. I think it really started sometime around 2000 when George W. Bush won a very contested election against Al Gore. Democrats were convinced that somehow Bush had stolen the election. The Clinton White House staffers, many of whom expected to keep their jobs if Gore was elected, took all the W's off the keyboards in the White House and the old executive office building. Kind of childish behavior, but it started getting worse and worse. No longer were people friends, and I look back on my career, and people like John Breaux and Trent Lott, they were staffers in the House, became congressmen and later senators, and they were close friends and went into business together after they left the Senate. One of my very closest friends in Washington was Jim Clyburn. Jim and I don't agree politically, but we're friends and we're civil toward each other, but that civility seems to have been lost, and I don't blame one party or the other. I think both engage in this, and it's unfortunate. But as I watch what's going on today, the animus, the angst that the Democrats have over Donald Trump just goes beyond the pale. And their description of him as a Nazi, as a fascist, all these things go beyond what should ever be going on in our political discourse. We can be civil toward each other. Watching the hearings for his cabinet nominees, I am just appalled at some of the comments that Democrats are making. I look at Mazie Hirono from Hawaii. She won't vote for anybody that is not a Democrat. That's not serving the people of Hawaii well. There are people that are qualified and they're rightful to challenge somebody on some of their qualifications. They have no problem with that, and they should do that. But what's happened over the past 15 to 20 years is just ridiculous. What happened to Brett Kavanaugh was ridiculous. We used to nominate Supreme Court justices, and they would pass with almost unanimity because we were looking at their judicial qualifications. Today, we seem to look at their politics more than their qualifications, and that's unfortunate because we need an independent judiciary. I wish somehow we could go back in time to where we can understand that while we disagree politically, we can do it friendly. We can be civil toward each other. We don't need to call each other names. I have good friends on both sides of the aisle, friends that I've had for many, many years, and I don't understand why this animus has popped up. And I see it both on the far right of the Republican Party and particularly on the far left of the Democratic Party. They have just gone over the edge in their anger, in this what I call Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. Look, you can have some issues with Donald Trump, and I understand that. But to call him names like this, to call out, treat people in these hearings as less than they are, is just unacceptable to me. And I apologize for not going into any real issue today, but I've just been disturbed by this lack of civility that's gone on in Washington, and I wish we could find a way to resolve it on both sides. It's been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening. If you really enjoy this podcast, I would recommend you go over, and you're on TikTok, look for me on YouTube, John Haddo, because I don't know how long TikTok will be around, but there it's always going to be around, and they don't censor me over there. Thank you.